Welcome. This is part 3. So, part 1, I talked about how we're debating whether we should go back into conventionalism and rent a house. And part 2, we talked about a lot, like how you really have to decide what sparks joy for you. You have to pick up each item and go does this really matter? Well, today in part 3, I want to talk about another reality of how heavy this decision can be for you, because for our family we've gone back and forth. In fact, I'm writing solo today because of the fact that this has been such an intense conversation for my husband and I that he really didn't want to be a part of this conversation. And I love talking about this because this is, if you're contemplating, should I live in an RV? Should I downsize? Is this lifestyle really worth it? This is the hard reality of it, and this is the truth that you should know when you make this step. And if you or your spouse is a little bit on the fence, I'm going to be the first to tell you, you might not want to do this, because once you do it, it becomes really hard to go back because you realize how amazing it is what you give up. And Gabby's recording me today, so she's going to do a quick panorama of look at where we are. It's really, really hard to give this up. I mean, yeah, sure, it was hard to do dishes in one big Tupperware and heat the water on the stove because you want to minimize how much water's being used, and you don't want to use up all your propane, but relatively, propane's pretty damn cheap. And look at, we're in the middle of the wilderness. Okay, there's no one around us. Occasionally, maybe once every 30 minutes, a car drives by us. But I love this. I think it's really good. And we've been looking at all these houses, and you're talking $1,800 or $2,000 to rent for 12 months, and all of a sudden you start thinking wow, do I want to do what it's not that I don't think I can make $22,000 in a year. It doesn't mean that I can't work hard enough. It's will it bring me enough satisfaction and enough happiness to make it worth answering to somebody else? And really, that's what it comes down to. If you're the personality that goes, I don't really value following somebody else's rules to make that $22,000, then maybe the middle of the wilderness is the answer for you. If you're the other extreme, and that's okay. If you're the other extreme, it's that denial's the worst thing you can have. If you're the other extreme and say, I'd rather just be told what to do for 8 hours a day and know that I get to go home and I have a hot shower, which would be really nice, as I'm shaking right now, a hot shower, and I want that couch to sit down, and I want to be able to turn on my TV and have Wi-Fi and all those things. That's okay. It's really important to know where you stand on this. The worst thing to do is to say you want one thing and to act the other way. If you think that house is important, those securities are important, that shower is important, that couch is important, but then you're not willing to sacrifice what it takes to get there, that's the problem. And that's today's message. Is I want to tell you, you have to be okay. I'm weird. I know that, and that's okay. I want to embrace my weirdness just as much as you might want to embrace your conventionalism. To me, I'm it's really hard. It's not worth. The shower's not worth following the rules. The couch and the TV, all those things, they're not really worth giving up this. I think this is badass. I love this. I love the nature of it. I love the rawness of it. You have to know, all that matters is that you align what you're doing with what you want. And so if you're thinking, do I want to downsize to an RV? Do I want to minimalize, yeah, my life? Then think about the reality of what that means. And I have a couple good friends who I stay in contact with in text that live this lifestyle, and I'll catch myself going, no, it's okay, we're going to go this route. And then I realize real quick what that entails, the feeling of being strapped down or accountable to somebody else, and that really freaks me out. And no, that's not what I want. That's not why I did this. I wanted to have options. And so if anybody tells you you can downsize, you can live in an RV because it's the easy way or the best of both worlds, it's really not the best of both worlds. It's just you get to feel like you're in control. You get to be like, this sparks joy, I'm hanging on to it, and this sparks joy because it defines me or because I feel in control of my situation. Other than the fact that I'm really cold right now. It's May, it's Oregon in May, and it's friggin' freezing. But maybe I should not be in shorts. That's what you're getting out of this. That's what you're fighting for. Okay, so downsizing to an RV is rad, and if you believe in it and you can see the validity in it, it's really easy. Like, don't worry if you have kids. If you're happy and you see the stoke in it, the excitement in it, your kids are going to be happy too. If your kids have been in part of the system for a really long time, it might take a little bit longer. It helps that our kids were part of the system and they just see the excitement of the raw nature. They like the fact that they're well fed and that they get to grab sticks and pretend like they're swords and play fight, and they have options, and they see me happy, and that makes them happy. And so if you have the fear of, okay, this sounds really cool to me, but what about my kids? What are they gonna do? But they have this friend and that friend. I mean, when you're a kid, how many friends do you have that you were friends with as kids that you're still like, that define you? Really, I mean, you might be in touch with them, but that define you. You're trying to raise kids that define themselves. And so it's a bigger picture. You have to be brave enough and bold enough to embrace this bigger picture, because that bigger picture will carry them far. It'll carry you far, and it's a weird world we live in. And so if you can find security in this vastness of pine trees or oceans and beaches and wherever it is that you get your stoke, wherever it is that you feel at one, then that's enough. And you'll be amazed how many opportunities come up for you with the right mindset. Okay? If this seems scary and you don't want to do this, don't do it. It's not for everybody. It's certainly not for everybody. This is a unique situation, but a situation that a lot of people are embracing because they realize that it presents new opportunities and it allows you to express your own weirdness and your own happiness. And in the end, don't we all want to be happy?